Good evening and welcome to Daily Color Guard Report for Tuesday, November the 30th of 2010. My name is Brian Barnes, consultant and instructor with vectorVest. And at vectorVest, our mission statement is to provide you with the best stock market guidance available anywhere at any price. And we have a great set of tools that allow us to do just that. Let's get into tonight's program. The front page of vectorVest is designed to read like the front page of your local newspaper, where all the headlines are put right here at your fingertips, and our main focus each and every day is always on market analysis. As we look at the color guard this evening, we notice that the needle is one tick into the red, the colored guard is mildly bearish, and vectorVest does not advocate buying stocks at this time. From here, we simply want to look down at the box right below it, which is our vectorVest color guard. This provides us with a 6-day look back on what our market barometer above us is doing, and it tracks three very important key indicators. First, you have the color guard's price. Second, the color guard's relative timing, and then the color guard's buy to sell ratio. As we look at this evening, we have one red light and two yellow lights across the board, and the color changes come from looking at the changes of these indicators, not only from a day over day representation, but also on a week-over-week representation as well. So let's look at the first indicator, the color guard's price. The color guard's price is looking at the database of 8,099 stocks, and we're taking an arithmetic indexed average to come up with our vectorVest composites price, and tonight it closed at $26.33. Next, our color guard's relative timing, and the color guard's relative timing is an indicator that is cast on a scale from 0 to 2, and it tells us the strength of the short-term price trend of our market. Tonight we see that that indicator closed at 1. When the vectorVest composites RT is above 1, then the short-term trend of our market is said to be up. Below 1, the short-term trend of our market is down. Next, we'll look at the color guard's buy to sell ratio. We're looking at the relationship between the number of buy recommended stocks versus sell recommended stocks inside the database. And the buy to sell ratio is an indicator of overall market strength or weakness. Tonight we did close at 1.29. From here, we simply take the price of the vectorVest composite, the vectorVest composite's relative timing, and the buy to sell ratio to wrap that into one single comprehensive indicator, which is our MTI. The MTI is also cast on a scale from 0 to 2 and tells us the strength of the longer term or underlying trend of our market. Tonight the MTI closed at 1.29. From here we can simply look out to the far right hand box marked as the market timing indicator. This gives us a 6-month look back on what the master indicator of the market is doing as it tracks above and below the value line of 1. As we look over at the hard right hand edge, we notice that the MTI has been trending down for quite some time. From here, we'll simply go up to the main toolbar, click on Views, and come into the vectorVest Views. As we look up top, our top 4 paragraphs talk to us about the 4 major indicators and their movement and how they get their color on their color guard. So we'll simply scroll down and stop at the summary section for this evening. With one red light, 2 yellow lights, the color guard is mildly bearish, and with the price of the vectorVest composite moving lower on a week-to-week basis and the MTI above 1, we have a down-up situation. Let's scroll down to the very bottom to examine that down-up situation. As we look at the bottom of the views, you notice that you have a chart that provides us with a look back over the last 15 trading days on what the market has done. We always begin our analysis out on the far right-hand column to further examine the down-up situation. So we'll separate it. The first position is down. This is our primary wave. To receive a down, we simply look at tonight's closing price of the vectorVest composite at $26.33, and we count back 5 trading days. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 trading days ago, the price of the vectorVest composites at $26.56. We did fall down from there, so we had a downward movement on a week-over-week basis. Therefore, our primary wave is down. The second position is talking about the levels of the MTI, which tells us the direction of the underlying trend of our market. We do see that it closed tonight at 1.29. From here, we take that information and close it, and we come back to the home page to click on the market timing indicator to look at the market timing graph. the single most important graph that you work with on a daily basis. You're looking at the top half of the graph. Your black line is a visual representation on the daily recorded movement on the price of the vectorVest composite as it tracks against this magenta line, which we know is a 40-period moving average. Down here in the right-hand corner, we have MA3 checked, price set at 40, and if we look back in the upper left-hand corner, we're looking at a one-year graph where the data points are recorded daily, and it's a standard graph. So that makes that a 40-day moving average. Lower portion of the graph is the MTI tracking above and below the value line of 1. We'll do ourselves a favor. We'll click the period and drop back to just 3 months to get a glimpse of recent activity. Clicking on Get Graph, again we see the price of the vectorVest composite here. We know that the price of the vectorVest composite has been above the 40-day moving average since the 2nd of September. We have tested it a couple of times, and it looks over here on the right-hand edge. If we peaked out here back on the 8th on the price of the vectorVest composite right at about $27, we are falling away from that. Tonight's activity at 26.32 is slightly lower than yesterday's activity of 26.46. Again, checking the MTI down on the bottom portion of the graph, we also notice that again on the 5th and the 8th of November, we did top out at 1.66. We are trending down from there. Tonight's closing of 1.29 is lower than yesterday's closing of 1.40. Let's uncheck the MTI. We'll put on the RT. We see that the RT again has been above the value line of 1 ever since the 13th. We did trend higher. We peaked out here on the 5th. We retested the value line of 1, and then this evening, as you notice, we're setting right on the value line of 1, which is slightly lower than yesterday's closing of 1.04. We'll remove the relative timing and put on the buy to sell ratio to examine the overall health of the market. We know that back on the 9th of September, the buy to sell ratio was above 1. That's when we issued our last confirmed call. That was a confirmed up. The MTI peaked out on the 5th of November at 3.61, and we have been trending down ever since. Tonight's activity in the closing at 1.29 is slightly lower than yesterday's closing of 1.77. While we're here, we're going to do ourselves a favor, and we're going to change the graph type to look at the Pro Trader to get a better understanding of the technicals of the market. We'll do the same thing with the period, and we'll click and drop back to just recent activity, viewing 3 months. Again, this is our enhanced Pro Trader market timing graph, otherwise known as the DEW. The D stands for your detrended price oscillator. The E stands for your envelopes. You have an upper envelope and a lower envelope. And then the W is the 30-day weighted moving average. What we're going to do is we're just going to zoom in on just the hard right-hand edge of the graph to get a better understanding of where our indicators are at. Now our price of the vectorVest composite is represented in candlesticks. We see that we had a red-bodied candle here this evening, and noticing that the closing price for the vectorVest composite at $26.33 is lower than the 30-day weighted moving average of $26.45. This is providing us with a bearish signal. From here, we move down to the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence. MACD is the representation of your blue line as it tracks above and below the signal line, which is your white dotted line. It appears that the MACD crossed back below the signal line back somewhere around the 10th or the 11th of November. We'll notice that the histogram below it is also below the zero line. The representation for the histogram is looking at the bars, tells us the degree of the separation between the MACD and the signal line. We can also see that if we look at tonight's DPO, we are negative. We're underwater at negative 0.02. So we're bearish, bearish, and bearish. So from our DEW timing signal, we received a down call on that this evening. Let's close this graph. We're going to go back up to the main page. We're going to click on graphs, go to a stock graph. Just choose a standard. A couple of times a week, we always want to check in with gold under the Midas Touch program, so we'll click Get Graph. I want to choose our layout bar right here, and we're going to choose the Midas Touch. Midas Touch gives us a visual representation. Up top, we have two moving averages that are set against our stop price. The blue line is a 10-day moving average. The red line is a 65-day moving average. Notice that is confirmed by our moving average box in the bottom right-hand corner. So in order to receive an up on this, we need the 10-day moving average to be above the 65-day moving average. And then down here at the bottom, we have a 40-day moving average that moves against the relative timing. So we've been bullish in this position ever since the 30th of April. But as we look at the hard right-hand edge, the short-term moving average has been trending over, just a slight little bit of a tick back to the upside, but the 40-day moving average against our relative timing is still trending down. In this particular position, you might want to think about tightening some stops, but I don't think it's a good idea to be adding new positions based upon the Midas Touch. We'll simply close that. We'll go back into the views with all of this knowledge to take a look at the guidance on today's information. We'll scroll down and take a look at the strategy section for today's insight. Eurozone debt concerns weighed heavy on investors' minds in early trading today. However, after news that lawmakers are vowing to compromise on the Bush-era tax cuts, stock prices managed to pull back off their lows to end the day only modestly lower. With one red light and a down-up situation, the guidance for our investors is as follows. Prudent investors should not buy stocks at this time. Aggressive investors and traders should play the market with a bias to the downside. Now, today's Derby winners. The 5 strategies with the highest one-day % price gains are, as we look through these, we see that we have a mixed bag again. 4 bullish and 1 bearish. Hottest growth stocks at the top at 3.34%. AC's % price poppers RT descending 3.24%. Ballistic new highs 2.93%. Sinking sectors 2.84%. AC's % price poppers RT ascending 2.76%. As we look down at the Derby winners, the 5 strategies with the highest % price gains over the last 5 trading days. This gives us an indication longer term on the trend of the market. We notice we have a mixed bag here as well. The bullish searches are 4-to-1 over the bearish, but I guarantee you if you do yourself a favor and look at these, the % gain totals on your bullish searches are declining. At the top, we have hottest growth stocks 8.57%, ballistic new highs 8.37%, Doug's Downers supercharged 5.86%, Marathon 5.66%, and Finding Fireworks stocks at 4.91%. From here, we'll simply close it out of that. We'll go into the vectorVest real-time platform and take a look at the Derby tool to get a better understanding of those searches. Here we're looking at the Derby view from prior close, gives us the daily performance of all 185 searches. If we look over at the Derby summary, today we had 74 winners, 106 losers, 5 that went unchanged. Breaking it down, the bullish searches, we had 46 winners on the day, 100 losers, 4 that went unchanged. And our bearish searches, we had 28 winners, 6 losers, and 1 unchanged. We'll collapse the Derby summary, take a look at a couple of these. Top performer, hottest growth stocks, we'll click on it. We take a look at the equity curve. We started underwater this morning, moved up very quickly, remained relatively flat, but still pushing towards the upside. Good run off at the end of the day. So we'll take our equity curve now and slide it off to the side to look at the performance on the individual basket of stocks, filtering by return on investment. Again, we see MNEAF up top at 15.32% today. This particular basket produced 8 winners and 2 that went unchanged for a daily performance of 3.34%. We'll simply close that. We'll come down to the top performing bearish search. Sinking sectors 2, a shorting strategy.